Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX with me, Malvika. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in Nice, France, where he received a rousing welcome from the enthusiastic Indian diaspora. Large crowds gathered, waving the tricolour, chanting Modi Modi and Bharat Mata Ki Jai with cultural performances of Kathak, Odissi and Bharatnatyam. PM Modi described it as a memorable welcome and praised the strong bond of the diaspora with India despite the distance. This marks the start of his 6-day official visit covering France and Slovakia from June 13th to 18th, 2026. This trip includes bilateral engagements, innovation showcases and participation as a key outreach at the G7 summit in Evian-les-Bains, hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron. So those, of course, are the details coming in. Prime Minister Modi landed in Nice yesterday and he is expected to participate in the G7 summit before also heading to Slovakia as well. I'm being joined by Ambassador KP Fabian, a former diplomat on the broadcast. Sir, of course, a very, very important visit by the Prime Minister. What are your key expectations from this G7 summit, with the Prime Minister saying that, he's going there in order to really platform the global South and its voice?
The most important meeting will be between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump. There, we have to see whether there will be any measurable progress, not declared progress, measurable progress in regard to the trade deal. Secondly, I expect Prime Minister Modi to bring to the notice of President Trump that in India, we are of the view that the U.S. Navy acted incorrectly and when it sent Hellfire missiles to the engine room, because the correct protocol is shoot in the air, shoot near the ship, shoot by the side of the ship, and never to send a missile to the engine room, which will kill all the sailors. So that should be brought to President Trump's notice. It is not that we are taking the position that America's blockade should be respected or not respected. That's not the point. But the way it is implemented in respect of the case that we have, should be brought to his notice. And, possible to talk firmly without upsetting the relationship.
Absolutely, sir. I request you to stay on with us. We do have some further developments coming in. Now, the White House has confirmed that President Donald Trump will hold a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Modi on the sidelines of the G7 summit, likely on either June 16th or 17th. This will be their first in-person interaction in over a year. Expected discussions include trade and economic ties, defense cooperation, energy supply chains, technology, AI, immigration, H-1B visas and regional security. The meeting comes as both sides work to further strengthen the India-US strategic partnership. With that, let's also take a look at what to expect from this key meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump. Of course, they will be meeting after more than an year. So let's look at the key expectations. Modi-Trump discussion on the India-US trade deal. Now, of course, a very high above on the list of topics that are likely to be discussed, with discussions currently ongoing between trade teams from both sides. Indian Minister Piyush Goyal had also met with Ambassador Sergio Gore recently on this same topic. A joint statement on counter-terrorism after the Pahalgam terror attack. Now, another very important point, this will be the first time that the two leaders are meeting after the terrible Pahalgam terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir. So, a joint statement with regards to counter-terror action is also expected. India likely to brief US on Operation Sindoor, talks on energy, security, critical minerals and supply chain resilience amid global disruptions. Now, of course, the disruptions caused by the ongoing US-Iran war are also very high above on the priority list, especially because of the sort of disruptions that has been caused in energy supply throughout the world, and as well as the blockades in the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, a lot of discussions going on with regards to oil supply as well. Talks on cooperation in AI, semiconductors and emerging technologies. So, of course, technology a very, very important cornerstone of the relationship between India and the United States, and with growing cooperation in AI and semiconductors especially, that is also expected to be a topic of discussion between the two leaders. Talks on maritime security in the Gulf region amid attacks on commercial vessels. Now, that of course brings us back to the disruptions caused by the war and the recent attack, the strikes by the United States, which had left 3 Indian sailors dead. We saw External Affairs Minister Jaishankar talk to Marco Rubio, and that is also likely to come up in the discussions between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Donald Trump as well. Ambassador KP Fabian, former diplomat, continues to be with us on the broadcast. Sir, of course, a very, very important meeting. All eyes on this bilateral engagement between the two leaders. First time they will be meeting in more than a year, with many key things such as the tariff wars, the Pahalgam terror attack, of course, and the ongoing US-Iran war. What are your expectations? What can we expect to come out of this, with the trade deal, still in the works, and with the recent attack, especially of the that killed 3 Indian sailors, that India has lodged a strong protest over? What are the key outcomes that we can expect out of this meeting?
There is an opportunity for President Trump to do some course correction, and he is good at it. So let us see whether he will do that. When I say course correction, I mean to say that President Trump's policy towards India, starting with the imposition of tariffs and, other statements he has made about India's economy being dead and all that is not only not conducive to strengthening Indo-American relations, these statements are injurious to America's standing in the world, because that exposes America as an unreliable friend. So it is for President Trump to do the course correction, and it is quite possible, though nothing is certain, that he will do it in parts. And as regards the attack on the ship where all the seafarers, 24, were Indians, well, what we expect from the American side is at least sorry condolences. Because, as I said earlier, American Navy did not act the right way. The right protocol I explained, so I will not explain again. And we know that the American Navy knows what the right protocol is. But the American style so far, especially recently with Trump, has been, to exalt whenever they kill. For example, in the case of torpedoing of that Iranian ship, what did the Secretary for War say? He exulted and said that it was for the first time since World War II. Of course, he was historically wrong. It was the 7th time. That is a different matter. He probably didn't have the time to consult the office of the historian attached to the Department of State. But, that exaltation is something which outraged me and so many of us.
Absolutely, sir. Now, another very important point of discussion that US officials have in fact said is going to be the trade deal. We're seeing, a lot of back and forth, especially after all the tariff wars, the sanctions, and now US officials say that the trade deal is going to be on top of the priority list of the discussions that are expected to take place. What are your views on that front, especially with all of the energy crisis that is ongoing, and with the oil supply issues that are being faced, and with India, of course, looking to keep its own view forward with regards to that when it comes to Russian oil or Iranian oil, is what we're seeing. So with regards to this trade deal that is expected to be on a key point of discussion, what are your expectations from that?
By taking a rather tough line on the trade deal, America has not gained anything. In fact, America has harmed India and itself, America itself. So it is high time that America corrected that mistake. Now, the new thing, as you know, is India is not having any laws for preventing imports from countries where some items might have been produced partly by forced labor. Well, incidentally, it is rather amusing that President Trump should suddenly wake up about the importance of stopping forced labor. But that apart, as I said earlier, here is an opportunity for President Trump to fork out a new course in the interest of both America and India. And let us hope that he will do it.
Absolutely, sir. I request you to stay on with us, and on that note, let's